Hi guys, and welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to discuss AWS Global Accelerator. Global Accelerator, or GA, is a networking service that allows you to utilize the AWS Global Network to send data to your applications. Now, using AWS's network means you're avoiding the internet for a large part of the data transfer, and that means that you get better bandwidth and latency and a lot of consistency. Much more consistency than you would get on the public internet. So let's have a look at the architecture. Let's say we have an application running in US East 1 and another one in AP Southeast 2. Now it's the same application and it's running behind an application load balancer in both regions. And what we want to do is direct our users to the region that's closest to them and that is healthy as well, that's actually operating. So let's say we have some users in the United States. In this case, we're using Amazon Route 53 with an alias record that points to Global Accelerator's endpoint. So the users will resolve, in this case, dctlabs.com, and they get an answer. Now that answer includes two static Anycast IP addresses. Now, by the way, just as a little aside, you need to understand that when you use an alias record with Route 53, what you're doing is you're mapping your domain name, like dctlabs.com, to the domain name of the Global Accelerator endpoint. In the case of a load balancer, it would be the load balancer DNS name. What then happens is you need to resolve the DNS name of Global Accelerator to its IP addresses. And in this case, you get these two static IP addresses. So that means you can whitelist these in your firewalls. Now, these two IP addresses will both lead to your application wherever that application is. So you can have your application in several regions around the world and you'll still only ever use these two IP addresses to connect to those endpoints. So it's not one of these per each region, it's actually either of these IP addresses will actually take you to any region that's active, but you'll be directed to the region that's closest to you, or you can assign weightings. So what happens after you've got the resolution, you've got the IP address, and you're now directed to the closest edge location to you. So these users are in the United States, so there'll be a CloudFront edge location near to them. An edge location is not an AWS data center. There's lots of edge locations around, and they host some resources for AWS, including CloudFront, which is a content delivery network. So what happens is you connect to the edge location that's closest to where you are, and then you use the AWS Global Network to actually connect to the application endpoints. And those can be in multiple regions. So again, you're using these static Anycast IP addresses to connect to multiple regions, and you get directed based on where you are. So in this case, the traffic will traverse the global network, but the users will actually be directed to US East 1. So just to help you understand this further, the users are somewhere in the US. Let's say they're somewhere near New York, and they're going to get directed to an edge location that's very close. So they do have to use the internet, but they don't have to go very far on the internet to get to the edge location. So that minimizes the chances of latency. From the point that the traffic hits the edge location, it's on the AWS Global Network all the way through to the application, and that means consistent latency and good bandwidth. So you can definitely optimize your connection. If the US East 1 site fails, the requests are then routed to another endpoint. So in this case, they get routed to AP Southeast 2. Now AP Southeast 2 is a long way away, but because we're using the global network, we're not going to get anywhere near the latency issues we might experience if we tried to get from over here in the US all the way to Australia. So Global Accelerator is all about optimizing network performance to your applications, directing you to the closest regions, or you can manipulate that by specifying weightings to direct traffic to the regions of your choice. So that's it for the theory, and what I'm going to do in the next lesson is we're going to create a Global Accelerator and we're going to see how it works in action.